Around the clock, sports all the time. That's never gonna work. That's ridiculous.
Just remember to have fun out there today, and if you lose, I'll kill you.
This is Tall Can Audio.
Seriously, this thing is gonna be a cultural disaster.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome inside a Victoria Day edition of the Tall Can Audio podcast. I almost said Victoria's Day, but how foolish of me. Certain things on the mind. We will get to all of it, but we are happy you have chosen to join us today. A lot of people talking sports on the internet right now, and we are thrilled that you chose us. You chose us. You chose us. Matt Robinson with you, joined by Michaela Schreiter. What's happening, Screeds?
Matt, I'm doing very well. I'm more concerned about you, to be honest. How are you doing?
Yeah, you know what? We'll get into it, but it is what it is a little bit at this point. I'm fine. We are recording this reasonably.
I'm fine.
Yeah. I don't know why it's coming out all high and sweet.
Really, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Totally fine. I don't know why it's coming out all loud and squeaky, because really, I'm fine.
Yes. It is what it is, right? And I guess we could measure things, but maybe it's not a fair measurement with me. We're recording this fairly early in the day, and I have two beers sitting in front of me that just maybe overkill a little bit, but that's about where I'm at. But it is the holiday Monday. I appreciate you making some time. Did you get up to anything cool over your long weekend? What have you been doing?
I had, weirdly, a lot of plans, which I'm not a fan. Like, I am a fan of. I saw a lot of people that I love, I love spending time with, and like, it was a lot of fun. But like, Friday was the PWHL game where Ottawa, won, and we'll talk about that later. But so we went out for drinks with some media folks on Friday night, and then Saturday had dinner with some friends, and then Sunday some friends came over to watch the game and play cards. So it was like a good weekend, but a lot of socializing. And I woke up yesterday, but definitely more so today, with a bit of a cold because the friends that we were spending time with on Saturday have young kids. So I'm assuming, I'm just assuming that I picked something up, but it could have been anywhere. But so I'm doing a little rough today, like not for the reasons that I wish, right? Not for the typical May 2-4 reasons, because I'm old and my immune system is wearing down. So yeah, feeling a little rough today, but not for the fun reasons.
This is happening a lot, and it happened to me too, but like maybe not even you. I'm surprised your significant other watched another big hockey game, this time a Game 7 with company. And yet, I watched the first two periods not at home either. I watched with other people, unusual for me. It was okay. At 1-0, I was fine. I was like, because they have young kids, and they were actually the ones who wanted to watch with me and invited me to come over. And so they were allowed to stay up a little later. The littlest guy, he didn't make it all the way through the game. I didn't really want to make it all the way through the game myself, so power to him for falling asleep on the couch. But at 2-0, traditional hockey watching, Matt kind of reared his ugly head. Like, as soon as the puck went in, I didn't swear. I managed to keep it under control. But I did... Like, leap is overstating it, but I stood up off the couch and walked away for a moment, like, as soon as the puck was in the net. I was just up and gone and kind of muttering under my breath. But, I'm surprised. Like, I know Josh often is like me. He doesn't necessarily want a lot of people around, and this was a Game 7. I don't know what's happening to us here.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where, like, the opportunity arose, and he didn't want to say no. He also wanted to hang out with these people. Sure. Like, it wasn't like, we were dragging him, but he was nervous. He was like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't love the idea of watching this game with other people. And then he was like, if I give you guys free beer, will you be nice to me? And I said no. But they agreed to it to a certain extent. Yeah. And his thinking was, because Josh is nothing if not superstitious when he watches hockey, and the four of us all watched Game 1 versus the Sens together, which we all remember how that went. So he was like, well, I can be swayed in this situation, but
Right.
it didn't go in his favor, obviously.
Right, okay. You are feeling a little under the weather, so I believe you're not going to participate in the pinting today. But is there anything you've tried recently or lately that you enjoyed that's new, or anything you want to shout out at all?
I do have a can to crack. A can of sparkling water.
All right.
Because, again, sore throat. No, that's a great question. What have I tried recently? I should consult Untapped. I did, worth noting, I hit 1,000 check-ins on Untapped recently. It was a very big deal. Which is funny because, like, I always forget to check in with beers. So in reality, it's way higher than that. But I
used to use it all the time, and I couldn't even tell you the last. I still use it all the time to go in and learn like about the beers or read about things, but I almost never check in anymore. I don't know what that is.
I'm obsessed with it. Josh and I are also very competitive, so we have that going. Oh, I did try. So we went to Tooth and Nail a week or two ago, and I brought some home, and I was having some of this over the weekend before I got sick. But they have a new like Italian style Pilsner called Premio, which is super tasty. Very light, very like everything you kind of expect from like a clean Pilsner. But like for this time of year, things are getting warmer and nicer, and we were sitting on the patio having a couple of those, so it was very, very nice. So that's something I've tried recently.
It's funny you say that because this beer I'm leading off with is also from Tooth and Nail.
There you go.
So I will say I'm not much for Italian Pilsners. I do love like a Bavarian Pilsner or a Czech Pilsner. I don't really know what it is about the Italian version. I don't like quite as much. I think there's something a little more crisp maybe about the Czech Pilsner that I do like more. But this is the Rabble Rouser.
Oh, yes.
6.8% an IPA. And they say right in the description here, West Coast, East Coast, pale, red, whatever you want to call it. The IPA has sort of lost its identity, and they're just throwing some things at the wall here. I like that. I appreciate that. This is by no means a new beer. This is one of their staples. And I don't know. There was something about the name of this one that jumped out at me today, Schreids. So we're going to have this 6.8% Rabble Rouser IPA from Tooth and Nail.
That's one of my favorite beers, actually.
Yeah, I've been down there with you guys once before, I believe, and I was too busy going after the Fortitude to get too into the Rabble Rouser at the time. But we got it here today. Look, I said to you ahead of doing this show that during the Leafs portion, I thought maybe the best approach today would be to give you the wheel, because I have done this exact show a lot of times. The post Game 7 loss show, I've done it. Even this year, that here's sort of where I think the holes are. Here's where, if they don't succeed, what might happen. I've sort of given my takes from where I sort of, come down on things, or how I come at doing a show. And so I thought maybe, we have to talk about this, that maybe the better way of getting anything new out of it this time would be to have you kind of, I don't know, weigh in, obviously. I ask questions, steer the conversation in the hopes that maybe we pull something out of me here that I haven't said, last year and the year before and the year before and the year before and so on.
Well, that's a risky move, Matt. But nonetheless, I will oblige.
Okay.
There's so many different ways I could go with this. Okay, I'm not going to be mean. I'm going to say that. I won't be mean, because I know this sucks. I too, forgot the sadness and existential crises that come with your team being eliminated from the playoffs.
Right.
And I was reminded of that this year. And as the team that your team eliminated, I really don't think I have any right to rub anything in, to be honest with you. I'll start here. So, the narrative is obviously they do this every year. They do this every year. It's always the same, blah, 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 blah. Does it sting less at this point being in the second round? Or is that irrelevant at this point because of the way in which they lost? It wasn't like they lost by a goal or two. They lost, they got embarrassed at home in Game 7 after being embarrassed at home.
You weren't going to be mean.
Oh, sorry. I'm just stating
No, that
facts.
is what happened. You're right. That
is just a chronological order of facts.
Yeah.
No, does it sting less at all because it's in the second round and at least it's not the first round yet again, or does that not matter?
Like, even the word sting is weird. Like, I don't want to say I
that's
wasn't.
where we are.
Yeah, like, I don't want to say I wasn't upset. I was. But, like, I don't know that I was shocked. And I just said I want you to take the wheel, and I really do, and I want to answer your question. So let me put one, sort of quick one back at you. If the Leafs had somehow won in Game 7, and in that case, they have beaten the defending Stanley Cup champions, and they were embarrassed in Game 5 and still showed all this character to come back and win in 6 and 7. Ha ha, wouldn't that have been lovely? They beat the Sens earlier on. They, in theory, moving into the third round, all that is behind you now, right? This legacy of choking and not getting it done. You just beat the champs in 7 games, and you're moving on. You're going to play Carolina now. In theory, you're feeling good about yourself. In your opinion, what would you have put the odds on, the Leafs beating Carolina in round 3?
Oh, God. That's tough because Carolina is the worst team to judge right now because it's just pure chaos out there. It's the most boring, chaotic hockey I've ever seen in my life where they just fire anything and everything on net. I would like the Leafs' chances against Carolina better than I would their chances against Florida going into that series, if I'm being honest.
That's right. And that's sort of where I'm at. Like, to me, it's no worse than 50-50, Toronto versus Carolina. Now, Carolina has always been a weird matchup for Toronto. I don't know what it is, just the way they defend. You could almost get away with them playing, a Zamboni driver in goal, and sometimes they're able to beat Toronto in doing that. Let's play all the hits today, Schreids. Look, that's the part that I can't get out of my head is if you just showed up in Game 7, you've got a really good chance of going to the final. Now, I think there, in this fantasy land I'm living in, you're getting rolled by either Dallas or Edmonton. I'm not saying the chance was there to win the cup, but you would have eliminated all of this, right? And now we're talking about, we probably should have a discussion about re-signing Marner, and, all of this stuff changes on one game. But they didn't even show up for that game. So does it sting that it's less that it's in the second round? It's less the round and more the opponent. Like, you pushed at least in the Eastern Conference, the standard bearer to 7 games. I guess you can take some comfort in that. But it almost doesn't matter. It was just going to be win or lose. It doesn't matter how you do it because we've seen it all before. Like, they got blown out on Sunday night. But last year, they lost in overtime to Boston. Like, that could have gone either way. It didn't, but it could have. In 22, they lost 2-1 to Tampa. Could have gone the other way. Didn't. Like, they've had opportunities to do it before, and there's just something there that makes it clear they're not going to do it. This group, as it is constructed, and it's really not this group has been turned over and turned over and turned over, except for the big pieces that this thing is built around. And for whatever reason, as a collective, it's not getting done. And I said it to my friend that I was watching with before Game 7, like, you don't go in knowing you're going to lose. I said, can you imagine if they do this? Like, you sort of know what you're signing up for and sitting down to watch because we've seen it an awful lot of times. But there is still that part of you as this beaten down Leaf fan that's like, hey, why not? Like, they could do it again. Like, they've beaten them 3 times. Why not the 4th? And then you're like, oh, right. Now I remember.
Yeah. It's, God, it's rough, man. I don't know. It just sucks. And okay, so my other question, and this is one that I've posed to, and I also hate this question because I feel like at this point it's also been beaten to within an inch of its life, and it never happens. Is like, what what comes next? What change happens? We know that Marner's probably gone.
none. I assume we're running it back.
God, like that would honestly, even for me as a Sens fan, I'm like, come on, man, you got to change something. Is Shanahan back next year?
I doubt it. It's been 11 or 12 years now. And look, there's a whole lot of things that go into that question. Like maybe, like you've seen rebuilds that don't work. Buffalo has been stuck in one forever. Ottawa sort of stumbled and needed like a second run at it before now getting their footing. Lots of teams, you just happen to fall at the wrong time, and you don't get a McDavid or a Matthews or a whatever. You get a Nico Hischier. And look, that's not a shot at that guy. You love that guy. That's a great player. But Jersey doesn't start to take off till they win another one, get Jack Hughes, and now Hischier's your second line center, right? Like sometimes it's you get Juraj Slafkovsky, or it's sometimes luck. There was people in the Leaf management group who wanted to take Nick Ritchie over William Nylander. Like, you make the wrong choice there. This doesn't even get as far as it has. So a lot of things happened for Shanahan early on that allowed him to look really smart. And I'm not even saying he's not. But this hasn't worked. You have been the guy who's overseen it all and endorsed the idea of constantly, one more time, run it back. Let's see what happens. At some point, when it falls apart this dramatically, right? Like games 5 and 7, you are being ruthlessly booed off the ice for like half the game. I have never seen anything like that. This is a team that won its division and was competing with the champs in game 7. And people were like, not fucking good enough. And it's not, I don't think, it's not because people think this team is bad. It's just they've seen this movie so many times and it's obviously not working. And they're telling you, we're done. And at the top of that is Shanahan. And I've read some things. I've spoken to one or two people who've said, like, Shanny already is sort of, in the last couple of months, detached from other parts of the management group ever since they brought in Keith Pelly. He was going to be able to make an assessment and be given some time. I'll be shocked if Shanahan is back, but we've talked about who gets to come back and who doesn't enough times that I maybe I shouldn't be shocked, right?
Yeah, that's like for me, I don't know. I think we could talk about this for a long time, but it was a missed opportunity. I think a turning point, which sounds weird because I know it's felt like the same broken record for the last couple of years, but the turning point for me is when they fired Dubas, when we were told he's coming back,
yep. And
I felt like he was going to make significant changes. I thought that's the year they could have traded Marner before July 1st.
Yep.
Like that was the year that was the opportunity to make the changes. And then on a long drive home from the rink, Brandon Shanahan heard Kyle Dubas say some things he didn't like and made a split decision to fire his GM and change the whole course of the team. Which ironically meant nothing changed. And for me, that's like, okay, like that's one of the many reasons he should probably be gone after this. The other is he's the only common denominator left.
That's right.
You've changed everything else. You've changed the GM. You've changed the coach. You've changed other aspects of management. You haven't changed the core four, obviously, because you haven't brought in a GM that will.
Well, and even like Treliving, like you said, like I believe I'm with you. I don't know what it would have been. I don't know whether it would have been one of the core four. I do believe Dubas had decided at that point something has to change. But now you decide you're not coming back with him. And he mishandled that as well. That whole thing was a bit of a shit show. But now you drop a new GM into the mix and tell him you've got like a month to figure this out and possibly trade one of the most talented pieces the organization has ever had. That's a really tough spot for him. And you sort of punt on that again. And now you're stuck. Now he has control, right? This year we heard they tried to trade him to Carolina for Rantanen. That would have been interesting to see how that might have changed history. Would Rantanen have stayed? Would Marner have stayed in Carolina? Would that have changed anything? But man, it's just at some point, this thing's rotten to the core, and it's just... And you're saying this, like, this is the weird part. This is the mind fuck of it all every year, Schreids, is this is a division winner. This is a good team with some of the most talented players who've ever been a part of the organization. And you're like, it just doesn't work. For whatever reason, this isn't working. And there's no way they're going to tear this down to the studs and go through a full rebuild. But you got to have some sort of change, and that might involve a bit of a step back. There's nobody out there replacing Mitch Marner this summer for you, right? What he does on the penalty kill and defensive 100 points in the regular season, that's not out there. And even if it was, he's walking away for nothing. You're not making a trade, and you have nothing to trade. You've been trading picks for years to get this group over the hump. You don't have that many prospects because of the fact they're in a bad spot right now. And it doesn't have to be the end of the world, but man, it is going to take some serious creativity. And so far, Shanahan has not shown that he's the guy who can lead us in that direction.
Okay, so what is your advice to other Leafs fans right now?
Oh my God. I am literally the last person on... You know what? You can't... Again, this is the really tough part, is this was a good season. You changed your direction. You brought in guys like Tanev was terrific in these playoffs. I don't know how that's going to age. Carlo looks like he was a good addition. You've got time left on that contract. I believe Scott Laughton will be better than he had been. It's really, really hard to zoom in and zoom out, at the right times, but you were one game away from beating the Stanley Cup champs, and it was a humiliating way to go down. It was even worse that essentially it happened twice in 5 and 7. But for me, I got to watch the Leafs and Sens play Battle of Ontario hockey again this year for the first time in 20 years, and I got to watch it with my mom like I did when I was younger. Now, my mom would tell you I am no longer a fun person to watch hockey with, and she would be correct about that. But that was a cool little thing for me. I got to watch Game 7 with a couple little guys that, are just getting into hockey, and they're Leaf fans here in Ottawa, going to school and taking crap from their friends. And the littlest guy there, he's 6. He was already telling me that he's learned how to already throw that reverse elbow. If a Sens fan is talking to you about how you lost in Game 5, he's like, well, we already beat your team. You're like, well, that's exactly the right response, buddy, right? So you can still enjoy these things in the moment. After the game, my cousin sends me a picture of my niece. She's like just this tiny little thing, and she's... you can still enjoy it for what it is, because 31 out of 32 teams are going to lose every year. And yeah, there's some cruel and unusual punishment that goes along with the way we lose every year. But I think if you found a way to enjoy this season, that's legit. And you should try and hold on to that, because, like I said, 31 teams are going to lose every year, and we were one of them. But it's still fair to say, that was fun this year, because it's about the time you put into it. It's about the fandom. It's about whatever. And yeah, this stinks. Like, this feeling today sucks. That feeling last night sucks. You can watch it coming apart in the second period, and that sucks. And you just know these guys are not getting up. They don't have the fight to come back from 3-0 down. Maybe they do in a regular night in March, if these same two teams played each other, right? Just a normal regular season game, and Florida cares a little less, and, it's a little more free-flowing. You just knew they weren't coming back in Game 7, but that doesn't mean, that you can't enjoy it for what it was. And that would be my takeaway. If you can zoom out for a minute and just go, we lost in Game 7 to the defending champs, the best team in the East. Shit happens. We all know the story's bigger than that. It's deeper than that. But in that regard, that's what happened, right? That is, in the same way that getting pounded at home twice is what happened, the way I have framed it is also what happened. So it's all about how you want to frame it. And we will go through many, many therapy bills trying to decide which is the correct way. It's somewhere in the middle, but that doesn't mean it wasn't worth the journey. If not to get too deep, yeah.
Very.
It's
what? That's a positive
along the way.
There you go. That's a positive way to look at things, Matt. And allow me to now jump in with a very point blank question that might ruin all that. Should Auston Matthews be the captain? Is he the guy? What did you think of his leadership in this situation?
As the captain, you cannot come out after Game 7 when you got trounced and you weren't good either and say, too many passengers tonight. That's a bad look. And say what you want about the automaton that is John Tavares. He would never have said that. And even if you are totally correct, and you were one of them yourselves, you just, that's not the moment. You can say that again in March or in what, you can't say it after a loss like that. He is very much like this organization in the sense that there are, like last year, he was sick. Remember? Missed big parts of that series against Boston. So you're sort of like, I guess you should cut him a little slack. This year, he's clearly been injured. I guess you should cut him a little slack. Well, at some point, I need you to show up. I need you to be available. I need you to, and that's, like I said, when you're injured and you're sick, that's bad luck, and it's, it's unreasonable to say get over it and score anyway, but get over it and score anyway. I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
Like I know no one cares about my Leafs opinions, but I will say, his performance is one thing, and that is a factor. Like it is your captain who you expect to step up, and he stepped up in Game 6. Like he had a great Game 6, and that's great. But Game 6
Marner
was
to Matthews,
essentially
what everybody wanted to see.
But that was essentially his arrival to the party.
Yep.
And you can't arrive in Game 6.
Nope.
You also can't. His performance is part of it. It's what he says afterwards that is also part of it, right? That's just as much the leadership as your performance on the ice. I thought Chris Tanev after Game 5, like if you took that quote and applied it to Auston Matthews, like I needed to be better, I'll take responsibility, I would have been like, what a great captain.
Yeah,
but it wasn't Auston Matthews who said that.
It was ridiculous. Like Chris Tanev was
bro, you were the only good one.
A long way down the list of people I would have blamed for that game, but he stands out and goes, "Yeah, I need to be better. I'll wear that." That's what a captain says, even when everyone knows it's. And I'm not trying to shit on Chris Tanev, but everyone knows that's transparent, that it wasn't his fault, it wasn't him, but he is, stepping forward and owning it. That's what your captain has to do after that moment, especially when he played as poorly as he did this year. And whether it's injury or not, I don't know. I have no idea what's wrong with that guy. And last year when he was ill and missed whatever portion of the Boston series, he came out afterwards and said, yeah, no, it's nothing. I should have been better. Well, that was somewhat noble to say no excuses. If you do that again, then everyone's going to spend this summer saying, well, then you don't give a shit, right? Like, someone in the organization, and this sounds silly, Schreids, but someone has to let him off the hook if he is legitimately, like it seems like some sort of hernia or midsection or groin thing. Like he's not skating right and he's not shooting as hard. That seems like something in the midsection. You may be aware, I'm not a doctor. If he's legit had something horribly wrong with him all year and he's been playing through it, I get that the noble thing to do is go, yeah, no, it's nothing, and throw it away. Fans want to know what the hell just happened and why you haven't been better. And maybe it won't change their feelings about what just happened. It probably shouldn't. But they want to understand why this guy who scored almost 70 goals last year scored like 30 this year and nothing in the playoffs. Like that's not unreasonable for fans to want to know what the hell just happened. And I don't know, like Mitch going to the bench, like leadership, core four, the guy's supposed to be, he's skating back after they give up the 3-0 goal, screaming at the bench, wake the fuck up. That's not you, man. Like, you don't get to be that guy. You didn't, go ahead.
Especially when that guy shows up now.
That's what I mean.
Where was that guy? Where was that wake the fuck up? Like, where was that?
You know what that screamed
games?
to me? Did you watch that that NHL series that came out in October on Amazon? I forget what it was called now. And they get the clip.
Face Off?
Yeah, I think that's right. And it was Willie in the playoffs last year against Boston saying to the bench, "Stop fucking crying, bro." Right? Like, it felt to me like Marner trying to go, "Hey, people liked that about Willie. This will be my." And that, I'm almost certainly overstating that. But when you are one of the problems every year who isn't showing up, who isn't doing it, you don't get to scream at the fourth line as you skate by them. Like, what the hell? That was a terrible look. Craig Berube has been unbelievably composed all year. His whole thing has been too much noise in Toronto. I will keep it calm. I will be... He lost his shit after that 3 goals in 6 minutes or whatever it was in the third period, as he should have. He's suddenly realizing he's waking up in the middle of our nightmare going, oh no, I'm a part of it now too. It's... Yeah, I don't know whether Auston will be a good captain or not. It's frankly of less importance to me than will he be a good goal scorer in the future playoffs again.
I also loved the narrative of the Marner like yelling at the team to wake the fuck up, and everyone's like, you don't get to say that when your hair's that dry.
That's right.
Which I thought was very funny.
That's right, yes.
And it's just like, it's the irony of it all,
Yes.
right? Like, Mitch, God bless you, but you have been the problem, not just this season.
Just a little self-awareness, dude, right? Like,
yeah. Like, again, this is great. We would have loved that energy in
fiery
2021.
Mitch. Yes, that's right.
It wasn't even like we would have loved that energy in game 1. We would have loved that energy 4 years ago.
Oh my God.
Because one thing that has been persistent, like aside from a few blips here and there, is like Mitch Marner's performance in the playoffs is always disappointing. I know that, that every now and then he'll score a goal or have a big pass and it's like, okay, now it's better. But no, when it matters, he doesn't show up. We know that. That's been consistent.
Yeah.
And for him to, like, again, you want to see any player with like that level of fire.
Well, like I said, Game 6, Marner to Matthews, 1-0. That's what you... And look, you have to count on Joseph Woll. You only win that game 2-0, but you needed a big goal, and those two guys connected on it. You're like, okay, like, here we go. Let's see if you can... Didn't last. Did not last. Right? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's not consistent.
No.
When he does show up, it's like it's a blip. It's never mind.
That's right. So
there we are.
There we are, Schreitz. I think we got through it.
I think we did.
I should inform the good listener. Steve Bunda will be in studio on Wednesday afternoon. He is not feeling good about any of this. He has things to say. Everybody does therapy a little different. I think that one might be a little more of a angry vent session. We'll see. But that's the vibe I'm getting off Bunda. Okay. So that'll be fun later this week. We'll do that.
Yeah, you need that.
Yeah. I think we should talk some P-Dub because my hockey world is in a really weird spot right now. I mentioned I got to watch Game 7 with a couple of little dudes, their 6-year-old and the 10-year-old, and they had said, bring your jersey, we're going to have a hockey party and whatever. So when I showed up, I was wearing my Ottawa Charge jersey. Just
nice.
Both as a, let's have some fun, but also as kind of a troll job on a 6-year-old. That's little, that's the wrong jersey, Matt. I don't know. This is the one I feel good about right now. So, look, we did get some news on Monday morning about the way the expansion draft is going to look. We can touch on that in a second, but I think we need to start on what's actually happened on the ice. And the Ottawa Charge, as I referenced off the top, were chosen by Montreal. It's a fun storyline for us here in Ottawa. I think in Montreal, you'd go, we're first. We chose the 4th place team if you were trying to defend the, it is what it is. But we're going to see Minnesota, who are the defending champs, play Ottawa in the Walter Cup final. And this was a race between two teams trying like hell right up to the very last minute of the regular season just to get in. I think that makes it exciting. I think upsets are fun. Would have loved one of those on Sunday, but that's in our past. Shrides, we're done talking about that. What do you make of Well, before we break down the final, what did you think of the series that we saw between Ottawa and Montreal?
Yeah. Ottawa finished third because they were technically tied with Minnesota, but they got the tiebreak. So they were They were ahead of Minnesota, which means they have home ice advantage, which is very nice.
Hey-o.
However, but to answer I thought, I'm not going to lie to you, going into the series, I was like, okay, Montreal is very good. They obviously finished first in the regular season. They took the season series 4-2 over Ottawa. Like, by and large, Montreal was the favorite. Ottawa was the underdog. But Ottawa did finish the season pretty hot, and Montreal finished the season a little slow. So I thought, okay, that might work in Ottawa's favor. I thought at the very least they would make it a 5-game series, and it would be interesting. I went to the first game in Montreal. I stayed up well past my bedtime to drive home. I would like credit for that. And I'm not going to lie, in that game, I was like, who is this Ottawa team? They were, from that game to the very end, they were the better team. Like, consistently the better team. Yes, they lost one game in the quadruple overtime. But at that point, flip a friggin' coin.
So what are the odds here, Schreids? You mentioned your notoriously early bedtime. If that's a 7 p.m. start, do you make it?
So when I was in Montreal, it was a Thursday night, and I was like, just don't go to overtime. Right. Just don't go to if it goes to overtime, I was honestly looking at hotels. I'm like, because by the time the game ends, and I do the post game press conference, like I'm not out of any arena until 10:30, 11 o'clock most nights. So I was like, if it goes that late, there is absolutely no way. If it goes to overtime, there's no way I'm staying here. And when the quadruple overtime game happened on that Sunday afternoon, I just kept saying to myself, thank God, this did not happen on the Thursday night, because I'd still be in Montreal, let's be honest. But yeah, even if I'm at home, like I'm because it's the playoffs, okay, it's a 7 p.m. game. If I'm watching at home, I am staying up for that. Yeah. But I'm not happy about it.
You're still recovering now.
I'm still tired. Like now, even on the Sunday afternoon, like I was joking with a few of my friends. I'm like, I had shit to do after that game, and like that game started at 2 and didn't end until almost. It was like 7:30 p.m. Like it was
I had 5. a nice little day planned. I wasn't going to do anything. At 2 o'clock was the P-Dub. At 4:30 or 4 o'clock was the Jays. That was going to be sweet. And then right into the Leaf game at 7:30. The Charge hadn't ended when the Leaf game started at 7:30 that night. You're like, what? And the P-Dub had another game lined up to start after Ottawa Montreal. They started 3 hours apart and finished 57 minutes apart. Like, that's insanity.
Yeah. There was talk at one point of like, which game's going to finish first? It was wild. But even in that game, I thought, like, yeah, they were down 2-0, but they forced overtime, and I thought they looked like the better team. They were really good on the forecheck. They did a great job of keeping Montreal's chances to... Marie-Philippe Poulin and Laura Stacey were menaces on the ice the entire time, but most of the shots they got were ones that Gwyneth Phillips could see and therefore stop. Ottawa did a good job at limiting traffic in front of the net, and like they were the better team overall. I honest to God, did not see that coming.
Well, and by the end, you had them splitting up Poulin and Stacey, which I kind of get it. You're looking for some depth and like to spread it out a little bit, but now they both look different, or they'd sort of gotten inside Montreal's cage by the end of it, right? Like there was something about the way they were playing. Ottawa's bottom six appeared to have a little more energy, a little more. I think everyone understands that Montreal probably had the higher end, top end talent, but throughout the lineup, which we see from time to time, the deeper team in this one prevailed. It was incredible to watch, and the job that Gabby Hughes did in that series was unbelievable, right? Like the classic checking line center. I'm going to embrace this role. This is what they're asking of me to go against the best in the world for a week. Let's do it, and she killed it.
Yeah, Montreal's depth was certainly, or lack thereof, was certainly on full display here, because they are one of the best offensive teams in the league, if not the best offensive team in the league. But they rely on that top line of MPP, Laura Stacey, and Jen Gardner for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They're game 3, sorry. Montreal had 26 shots, and 13 of them came from Laura Stacey and MPP alone. Like they had those two players had half of their shots.
Yeah.
You got to spread it out a bit because those are not easy players to limit. So I'm not saying it's easy, but like when you limit them, you kind of expose Montreal for not being able to get the job done below them. So that was definitely. There's a lot of an argument to be made that maybe they should have been split up earlier or more often, for sure. But I just think overall, Ottawa, like they were the team that we watched in the regular season for Ottawa versus the team that we watched in the playoffs are two very different teams, which I find very interesting.
Honestly, and there were times, and I'll admit to being one of them, like when they had that game before the World Championship break against New York, where they had that horrible third period. I'm just like, there's something not quite right about this group, and I don't know whether it's the mix or it's the coach or the strategy or, there's just something that doesn't feel quite right. And they come out of World Championships, they play great, they end up getting in, and even that wasn't easy. It's overtime in the last regular season game of the year, and now all of a sudden you're playing for a championship. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And, full credit to the entire team. But, you look at Gwyneth Phillips in particular, who stepped in late in the season.
You mean Gwyneth Phillips, you might say?
Oh, there it is.
Hey. I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah, exactly.
She stepped in late in the season after Mashmeyer went down.
Yeah.
Did something very similar in the World Championship gold medal game, and
yep.
She won 6 of her last 9 games, and then has been like unstoppable in the playoffs.
Any chance she's Rookie of the Year ahead of Sarah Fillier?
Because the voting is based on regular season, no. And I say that because I vote in the PWHL awards, and I had to submit my votes before the playoffs started.
Yes.
So we wouldn't have been able, even if I know in some cases, you vote on the regular season, you're told not to factor in the playoffs, but we didn't even have the option to factor in the playoffs because they hadn't happened yet. I think she gets a few votes.
Sure.
Because I'll tell you, I think she was second on my ballot.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can say that yet, but whatever. It's out there now. The voting's already happened. But because it was based on regular season, no. But I think she'll get some votes. I think she'll probably be a close second. She's been incredibly impressive.
I think Ottawa's goaltending situation will come up again in a moment. Honestly.
I mean, that's fine.
But before we get there, we do have a championship series to play. It is the defending champs in Minnesota against Ottawa. What do you think of the matchup? What can you tell us about Minnesota that maybe we're not super familiar with? I'll be honest. I very much focus in on Ottawa. In other moments, I'll watch Montreal or Toronto. It's not that different for me than other sports where the Canadian teams have my attention first, and I'm probably not as knowledgeable on the American teams as I should be. It's Minnesota, Ottawa. What do you think of the match? Oh, and Schreiter, just forgive me because I've been rambling. I have a second beer now that we're through the stressful part of this, and I'm enjoying talking about championships. It's reasonably early on a holiday Monday. This is from Whippersnapper, the Blueberry Pancake, one of their spring spectaculars. It's a wheat beer, but it's got the maple syrup taste to it. It's the blueberry, obviously, tied in there. I'm looking forward to trying this while you tell us about this matchup.
That's a breakfast beer if I've ever heard one.
That's right.
Okay, so this matchup. So Minnesota, if you look at the season series, Ottawa and Minnesota split it 3-3. So very evenly matched. They literally tied in the regular season. Ottawa finished third just because of the tiebreak, but they are very evenly matched teams in terms of points. Mm-hmm. Where I think the matchup gets interesting, and this has been especially evident in the playoffs, is Minnesota, despite having 2 very good goalies who split the duties almost evenly in Nicole Hensley and Maddie Rooney, they have been getting not great goaltending, especially in these playoffs. It was average, slightly below average during the regular season. It's not been good at all in this postseason. allowed an average of 3.5 goals per game. But the thing with Minnesota is they've scored 4.5 goals per game, an average of 4.5 goals per game in the playoffs. So they've just been outscoring their problems against a Toronto team that was also getting very below average goaltending.
I like that.
Goaling. It's a new term. I made it up now. Where I think this, and listen, because we're talking about an Ottawa team that, I'm not going to lie, first I've seen of them, and I've been watching them very closely all season. This playoff team has been very different, but because of what we know about Minnesota is that they're high scoring, but they're going to allow a lot of goals too. I'm interested to see how that's going to work going up against a team like Ottawa, because you've got Gwyneth Phillips in net, who is playing lights out right now.
Yep.
So are you going to be able to outscore your problems when you've got a very hot goaltender right now? And Ottawa, not so much high on the high octane offense. They're more of a depth scoring situation. Mm-hmm. So will Ottawa have an easier time scoring because they're going up against some not great goaltending in Minnesota? I do think on paper this matchup favors Ottawa a little bit. But again, that being said, both of these teams are kind of wild cards, because you genuinely never know where you're going to get. Case in point, the last time they played in the regular season, it was Ottawa's second last game of the season. They had an opportunity to clinch a playoff spot. All they had to do was not let Minnesota win in regulation, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So I don't know. On any given night with Ottawa, you sometimes don't know who you're going to get, and that's what makes me nervous about this Minnesota matchup. However, just based on the way these two teams have played, I think it's a matchup that could favor Ottawa, but it remains to be seen.
Right. Is there, we know the stars who play for each of these teams. Is there somebody, in your opinion, in Minnesota that right now us Ottawa fans don't know enough about, but that we are going to very rudely be introduced to here over the next week or two?
I'm trying to think who you wouldn't know. Like obviously we all know the Kendall Coyne Schofields of the world, the Taylor Heiseys of the world. Sophie Jakes on D is terrifying and lethal and one of the best, if not the best, defenseman in the league this year. She had 22 points in 25 games throughout the regular season. I think she's going to be deadly from the point. Michaela Schreiter, kind of similar, a little further down on their depth chart, but a very, very consistent goal scorer, and a really, really good player, and Claire Thompson as well. So that's the thing with Minnesota is, like, much like Ottawa, they do have that depth on offense that'll allow them to score from a few different places, and defense as well with Sophie Jakes. So that's the players you want to watch out for. An interesting angle that I think a lot of PWHL fans would be familiar with is Britta Curl. Yeah. If you've been to a PWHL game, you've heard her be booed. Yeah. Rightfully so. She's been associated with some pretty transphobic stuff online, and therefore obviously not a huge fan favorite. And fans love to see her get hit, and they love to boo her when she's here. So I think the fans will be focused on that, which that's great. Keep that energy up. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, those are some of the players that I'm certainly keeping my eye on.
Do we have a schedule? When does the series start?
We sure do. The series starts on Tuesday.
Let's go.
So we got Tuesday, May 20th, Thursday, May 22nd, Saturday, May 24th, Monday, May 26th, and then Game 5, if necessary, Wednesday, May 28th.
You'll be in the building here in Ottawa, I assume?
I sure will.
Yeah.
I sure will.
This is exciting, honestly. The first Canadian team to be in it. Like, that was a bummer last year to have it be two American teams playing for it. And, that's just how it goes sometimes. But now, we get a Canadian team in there playing the defending champs. I'm looking forward to this. Honestly, I was a little hard, especially through the first half of the season, on Brianne Jenner. I thought there was more in there. We all knew there was more in there, and for whatever reason it wasn't coming out. That has come alive. Gwyneth Phillips has been a revelation. I think you and I talked earlier in the season about my thoughts on the trade that brought Jocelyn Larocque here. Look, everybody loves Joss Larocque, but it was a bit of a head scratcher at the time. But you're about to play for a championship. And so, it's sort of, I don't know if it undoes the criticism or undoes the questioning or whatever however you'd want to frame that, but all of a sudden everything you did this year looks pretty good and you're in a good spot here. So
yeah, it's that's the thing about this league is there's so much parity and you sometimes never know what you're going to get. I will say Brianne Jenner's play has been fantastic throughout these playoffs. Like she scores the first ever goal. She scored the goal to tie it up in game 2 and send it to overtime. Like that's what you want out of your captain.
Sure.
Right? You want them to be the player who scores those big goals.
I would love a captain who does that, yes.
Yeah. So she's been a monster in these playoffs, and I think it's that's what you expect from captain material. So she's shown herself that she's definitely the captain material here.
As we talked about a second ago, on Monday we did get news on what the expansion draft is going to look like. Vancouver and Seattle coming into the league after really nice showings over the course of the was it the Takeover Tour? Is that what they were calling it?
Yes.
So obviously those teams need to be staffed. They have to have players. We will have an expansion draft. Without going into all the nitty gritty details, what is the basics of how this is going to work?
It's so confusing.
It really is.
Okay, so
this is why
let me see if I can. Maybe in the process of me explaining it, I'll understand it more. Okay. So essentially, the Coles notes are that each team of the original 6 teams, they are going to lose 4 players. Each team is going to lose 4 players. Each team can submit a 3-player protection list by June 3rd. After they lose 2 players, they can add a player to that protection list. So depending on how you look at it, each team can protect 3 to 4 players, essentially. Mm-hmm. There is then an expansion draft and an exclusive signing window. So before the expansion draft, there's an exclusive signing window where the expansion teams can sign up to 5 players from that unprotected list and then go into the expansion draft.
So these aren't just, to your understanding, and because this is my attempt also to understand as we go, these aren't necessarily free agents that don't have a contract for next year. These are just players who haven't been protected.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're only eligible to be protected if you're under contract for the 2025-2026 season. But I don't know. So if you're not, let's say you're not protected, but you are under contract, I honestly don't know if you can be signed. I assume you can't be signed, but you can be drafted. Yeah, that's what I would assume that difference is.
That's sort of where I am
I could be wrong.
I
could be wrong. But I'm literally looking at the email right now, and it's very confusing to me.
There's a couple of very smart people who wrote threads on this on Twitter or Blue Sky today, and I still was like, I guess I sort of get the gist of it.
Yeah. What you need to know is each team's going to lose 4 players, and each team can protect 3 players and then add a 4th after the first two players are drafted. But I'm not going to lie. Like I'm still processing all this, so maybe I'll be in a better place about it in a few days. But I don't love that the protection list is so low. Yeah. I think this is like, I get that you got to build a team and there's 2 teams coming in at once and it's a small league. Like that's natural, but like I thought it would be at least 4 or 5 players maybe that you could protect. And if they're only going to allow you to protect 3 players, Vanessa and I were just talking about this before I jumped on, like at least make rookies not available.
Right.
Because like Ottawa is in a real tough position for many, many reasons, but like, you got to factor in goalies in this as well. Like 3 players, not a lot, man.
Well, and this is it, right? Like, all you can do is draw the line back. The closest comparison is Seattle and Vegas coming into the NHL, but it's spread out over 30 teams. Yeah. And so you can protect a lot more guys because they're only going to take 1 from each team. If you want this group to be competitive right away, and you do, like you don't want these teams coming in and being garbage for years because they were only allowed to sift through your trash, right? That's such a nice way to talk about human athletes, but that's the way this goes. So but there was always like extra rules, like protect this many forwards and 3D and 1 goalie, or 8 total skaters and 1 goalie. There is no exemption here as far as I can see, 4 goaltenders. And so all of a sudden, you've got Emmerins Mashmeyer, who was fantastic for Ottawa before she got injured. And now Gwyneth Phillips has arrived on the scene as like this younger up-and-coming star. I don't know how you make that choice. Like, I don't know what you... And look, we are Ottawa-centric, obviously, right? But every team is sitting here today going, oh my God, right? Like, what do you do? Everybody's got these decisions in one position or another. And I get that this is part of the pain of, maybe pain is an unfair way to say it, but pain for these teams, but part of the process of growing out your league. But man, it's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, the goalie situation in Ottawa has me already stressing big
Honestly,
time. Like, because again, I don't want people to forget how good Emmerich Smashmeyer was.
Right.
It's a bit of an embarrassment of riches, right, in Ottawa, because Gwyneth Phillips has been so good, rightfully so. She's getting a ton of praise, but Emmerich Smashmeyer was statistically the best goalie in the league when she got hurt, and I don't want people to forget that. At the same time, I don't know what Ottawa does. Gwyneth Phillips is younger. Yes, Emmerich Smashmeyer is coming off an injury, but theoretically, she'll be better next season. Yep. She's 30. She's not
old.
No, she's still got a lot of playing time left, and she's an established goalie, and so it's you are taking a bit of a gamble if you go with Gwyneth Phillips because it's the sample size is just smaller. Yeah. Exactly. So I honestly don't know what they're going to do there. I do not envy Mike Hirschfeld for that. That's a tough call. And then, you got your captain, Brianne Jenner, you got Emily Clark, you got Danielle Serdachny, you got Teresa Venesova. Like you got a lot of players you don't want to lose, and only 3 that you can protect, and that is tough. Like this is, and we're not even talking about the Montreal and Toronto situation where you've got like half of Team Canada split between these two teams, and how do you decide on 3 players? Like 3 players seems a little short to me, but
did that
this
surprise
is going to be
you that
tough.
it's this low?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd heard anywhere from 3 to 7.
Okay.
I had heard, and I get why 7 might be a bit excessive because again, it's a small league and you don't want these teams to suck forever. Yeah. But I thought 4 or 5 might make a little more sense.
Sure.
And again, because the depth and the parity is so strong in this league, it's not like, with that number of players, you're not forcing people to draft depth players. You could get some real stars there.
Well, this is it. It's not quite this simple for every team because every roster looks a little different. But you are talking about being able to protect your number 1 goalie, your number 1 D, and your number 1 center. And that's it. Everybody else on your roster. Now, you can choose to do it differently. Leave your goalies exposed if you have 2 really good ones and they can only pick one. Now you can protect more D or more. But that is and it's so, I was shocked when I saw that number. And I shouldn't have been. When you actually do the math and go, they've got to draft this out of 6 other teams as opposed to 30 other teams, then this is going to be painful. But man, this is really painful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, you look at Montreal, for example. If theoretically you go number 1 goalie, number 1 D, number 1 center, what do? They've got 2 of the best forwards in the league who also happen to be married. Do you really want to piss your captain off?
It's a bit of a commute.
Yep. And then where does that leave Aaron Ambrose? Where does that leave Anne Renee Desbiens? Where does that leave a young player like Jen Gardner?
These 2 teams are going to get stars.
Oh, they're going to be so good off the bat, which is great. And then there's a little part of me. I hate when older generations have this opinion. So I'm like, why wouldn't you want it to be better for younger generations? But the boomer opinion in me is like, listen. Our teams used to suffer for years when they expanded. Let them suffer. And then at the same time, I get why you maybe don't want that to happen.
Sure. Yeah, this is going to be wild. And you are going to lose on every team, no matter what your favorite team is. Not just one, but like you said, up to 4 players. And 2 or 3 are really going to hurt. These aren't going to be 7th D, 13th forwards. These are going to be key pieces of your roster as they do their best here to maintain some parity, which is great, as you said, but it's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to be interesting for sure. Yeah. Strap in.
Last thing before we get out of here, Schreids, and I just thought, there's something about this I just find funny. I don't think either one of us are going to have incredibly insightful opinions on it, but I am intrigued by the idea that the Olympic Games, when they move around, sort of adapt the list of sports that are going to be played, based on where they are. And it's popular here, so we'll allow it in, and then it's not, so we'll maybe move it out. They're going to play flag football at the Olympic Games in 2028 in Los Angeles. And there's going to be some discussions over the next week or 2 about whether or not NFL players can play this flag football tournament. And look, whether the NFL is going to participate or not, the Americans are going to be the best team there. This is, we love our CFL here and, around the world, I guess it's catching on in some other places. But this is very clearly a, hey, we're in America, let's play football kind of event. And I can't explain it to you, Shreds. There's just something about this idea that we're going to have an Olympic football tournament and it may feature NFL players. Do you care? Are you going to watch flag football at the Olympics? Are you interested in seeing NFLers participate? Where are we with this, Shreds? Because it's a little silly.
I would watch darts if it was an Olympic sport. During the Olympics, I will watch anything. Now, the second the Olympics end, I'm not. You couldn't pay me to watch that shit. But like respectfully to flag football athletes. But of course I'll watch it. I want to see what it's like. I'm kind of curious as to what this is going to look like. I won't lie. I think there's the only narrative I've really seen about the prospect of NFL players playing is like flag football is a thing. It's a genuinely competitive sport played internationally. There's an American team that has been training and preparing for this, and then for them to lose spots to
Patrick
athletes
Mahomes wants to go show up,
and these athletes play a different sport. It's not the same sport. No. I get that there's probably similarities, but it's an entirely different sport, and you're gonna let them come in and take your roster spots. I think that's a little bullshit. And then also. It's very rare that I'll side with NFL players just because, I think you guys are good. I think you guys have enough. You don't need. I also don't think a lot of them are going to want to play. It's maybe a couple weeks.
The tournament will end on July 30th, which is the day before training camps would typically end. I think August 1st is when camps open.
I think there's a lot of NFL players who are going to sit that one out if given the opportunity. If I'm a flag football player and my sport is finally getting some profile, I'd be so pissed if NFL players just walked in with their millions of dollars.
Walks in and takes my job.
Absolutely not. And it's simply for the eyeballs. And I know that that's the whole point of sports, right? It's to get people to watch. But I think that would be incredibly frustrating.
But we've seen it in a bunch of other sports too, right? There used to be a Canadian national men's hockey team, and then we decided, thanks for your service, we're sending the Olympians now, right? It was no different when the NBA Dream Team started, or the USA Dream Team, the NBA Dream Team, whatever you want to. We do this, right? Thanks for your time. We're going to put the biggest stars together here, and I'm with you. I don't think that this will be an all-time NFL, dream team that shows up to play flag football, but there will be guys, and I think USA was probably, I won't claim to be an expert in flag football, but already the favorites, and now you add a couple of NFL receivers and even I don't even know what name you'd want to throw out there. Schreid's a middling NFL quarterback who just decides, screw it, I got nothing to do in July.
Jones.
There you go. I will be an Olympian. I'm going to go and play flag football. You're right. This is all about ratings. It's all about tickets. And, hey, it's in the U.S. once. You're not asking me to travel, especially, if you play for a California-based team. Why not show up? And it just, I don't know. Like you said, flag football is a real sport. There are people out there doing it and doing it full time and doing it well. And yet there's something about it when you say, we're going to have this 300-pound NFL linebacker show up. And you're like, can you hit that guy? Not the way I'm used to hitting guys. It's just, there's something absurd about the story. And yet I kind of really want to see, Team USA just run roughshod. If you allow NFLers into this thing, it's going to be 62-0 every game. And yet, I'm sort of here for it. I got to be honest. I'm sort of willing to watch that. The spectacle is the thing.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. If why else are we watching? It's like watching Simone Biles compete. We know where this is going.
That's right. What's coming up on She's Got Game on the TSN radio network this week? Have we got that booked out?
Well, we are going to have to record at a different date because we typically record Thursdays, and that is a game.
That's not going to work.
We don't want to be at a date, so I think we'll look at shifting things a bit. Yeah, a lot of PWHL playoffs for sure.
You could stay up late after that Thursday game, record then.
Oh, we got a producer who's got he's got to work, and we put Marco through enough. I'm not doing that to him. We will, if I could plug it, we'll definitely plug it on the show, but I'll plug it here as well. We've once again teamed up with the Get Real movement for their charity, virtual 5K charity that they run every year during Pride Month.
Oh, yeah.
So the Get Real movement is an organization that provides education and resources to schools and businesses to essentially help combat discrimination towards the LGBTQ plus community and to combat racism as well. And they're working with an organization called Rainbow Railroad on this charity. So it's like a 50-50 split, right? 50% goes to Get Real, 50% goes to Rainbow Railroad, and Rainbow Railroad works to essentially help people get out of dangerous places to be a member of the LGBTQ plus community anywhere in the world. So there's a lot of places right now where it's not safe, and so Rainbow Railroad helps get them out.
You'd want them to be.
Exactly. So we worked with them last year. It was a really fun event and for a great cause. So we're looking at having them on the first week of June to promote that. But we've already started our fundraising page. I've shared it on my social medias. Matt, maybe I'll send it your way and you can
we'll put it
share
in the show
link
notes
as well. So yeah, just give us money and we will run 5K.
I love that, and love that you made some time for me here on a holiday Monday, Schreids. Couple.
I'm glad I was able to help you process your grief.
Yeah, I'm still a fairly broken person, and it's only partially due to the Leafs, but they are a significant reason for it. Like I said, I think the session with Bunda on Wednesday afternoon may come off a little different again. There are many emotions, so appreciate you helping me work through some of that. Certainly the insights on the PW. And, She's Got Game every weekend on the TSN Radio Network, or to subscribe to the podcast. It's a pod now. It's incredible. It shows right up, right there in your app. You don't have to even go looking for it. So we'll link to all of that. This is it. We'll link to all of that in the show notes. Appreciate you, Schreids,
whatever.
Yeah, just fumbling to the finish line here. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, good listener, for joining us here today. We're on social media at Tall Can Audio, and make sure you are subscribed wherever you're hearing us right now. Have a fantastic week.
I've got nothing here. You're giving me baseball and hockey, and I got my keister blowing in the wind. That made to look like a fool here. That's just dumb. I don't want anything to do with this place. This place is run by a bunch of children.